Greetings YouTube and welcome to a video I'm super hyped to talk about because in the last hour or so, the MCOC team, as they're calling themselves in this forum post, has officially released the next featured 5-star hero crystal coming to the contest starting January 15th. This is directly relevant to me as I continue to debate whether or not to go for Aegon or Omega Red in my next hunt now that the hunt for Ghost is complete. And so I wanted us to kind of go through each champion, talk about the good, talk about the bad, and talk about the ugly. And as always, I'm going to be as honest as possible while also thinking about everyone's roster. So X23 is the first name on this list, and X23 is a fantastic 5-star that does not need to be awakened. I do believe this might be the year, knock on everything that could be wood, that a 5-star Wolverine comes into the contest. And if Wolverine comes into the contest, X23's value actually goes down because Wolverine is the better of the two champions. It's just that because Wolverine is the better of the two champions, you have not seen him in one of those exclusive Grandmaster featured crystal opportunities like we've seen with, say, Electro and others. But yeah, X23 is a very, very solid 5-star that most importantly does not need to be awakened to be really, really good. So if you've not gotten your hands on an X23 as a 5-star yet, this is a great opportunity for you in the new featured 5-star hero crystal. Now next, we go to Nightcrawler, a champion that should not be awakened to be a great defender. I have a 6-star Nightcrawler, thankfully unawakened, and he still does really good work. I don't know if there's ever going to be a time, it doesn't matter how many Nightcrawlers I fight, where I'm excited to fight Nightcrawler. It's just always going to be a pain, especially on defense, especially on certain nodes, like unstunnable nodes. And I'm not a big fan of Nightcrawler, but that means if you need a good defender, Nightcrawler will be a good defender for you unawakened. So if you don't have a Nightcrawler as a 5-star and you land that, pretty cool opportunity. I'm going to give those first two champs a passing grade for the new featured crystal. Now, of course, not all of them can be good, and not all of them can be bad. But how about this? This is a champ that if I was to land on it, I would actually get a maxed Sig crystal for the first time in my playing of Marvel Contest of Champions, because I have a Sig 200 Iceman, one of those champs I was asking Dorky Diggity Dave the other day, like, how do you like your 565 Iceman? Because, you know, part of me is still tempted, especially if Act 6 has a bunch of BS in it, which we know it will, to 565 my Sig 200 Iceman. And I'm still kind of thinking about it. You just never know. And he loves his 565 Iceman and feels that a lot of people who don't like Iceman just don't really know how to play him correctly. And I can certainly see that, especially when you're building up those cold snaps. So, and frostbites, I should say. So, yeah, Iceman, Nightcrawler, X23, all good. All good champions. And Iceman is a great champion. Lost a little bit of value in terms of offense. I don't think Iceman gets the love in his class now that an Omega Red or a Domino get, for example. But I still think Iceman with the triple immunity is an incredible champion, one of my favorite 5 to bring into quests on average. Okay, we're going to go down to Old Balls Logan before we get to Aegon. Old Balls Logan, this is a champion that if you run it with Sabretooth, the synergy does help. But, of course, I'm also somebody that thinks that this champion should be better and should certainly have more stacked bleed opportunities than he has. This is a champion that I just awakened recently last night in my attempt to dupe Ghost Rider. I had Old Balls on the left, Old Balls on the right, and Old Balls in the center. It was a prostate exam of an opening. So, you know, not the worst champion, certainly better than Colossus, but I don't think anybody would land on Old Man Logan and be like, yes, this was worth 15,000 5-star shards. It's just not happening. Now, Aegon is arguably the top prize of this 5-star featured hero crystal. The key with Aegon, from everything I've seen in videos, since I do not have anything above an Aegon as a 4-star, really needs to be awakened and really needs to be at a high Sig level. That's kind of what's keeping me from being super excited to go for Aegon, because I'd have to use my generic 5-star awakening gem, and I do not possess a single skill signature stone right now. I'm still putting all of them for prestige purposes into Blade, who's at like Sig 190. So yeah, Aegon, obviously if you land on Aegon, you'd be super excited. I certainly would be super excited, and he's one of the reasons why people are going to go for this crystal. Now, Night Thrasher, I still think is kind of a mystery to me. I haven't seen anybody that hates him, but I haven't seen too many people that love him. He's just kind of pretty good. Maybe like this featured crystals group version of a Massacre, somebody that has really good value in certain situations, but isn't the top of the top tier. I don't know if that's an accurate analogy or not. If you love Night Thrasher, let me know. I don't own a Night Thrasher even as a 3-star, but I haven't seen certainly the same hype for Night Thrasher that an Aegon would have, or an Omega Red for that matter. Now we're going to go down and we're going to look at Gwenpool. How about Gwenpool? It's the champion I have awakened. Yes, Gwenpool has taken a little bit of a step back in value. Certainly was an alliance war during the season that we could not have any champs that bleeded with that global node. But Gwenpool, still amazing. Even at 565, I've seen some incredible gameplay of Gwenpool at 565 over the months. So, yeah, there isn't a champ outside of Old Man Logan, and even he has some utility that I would get super depressed about to land on. Now we're going to go to Agent Venom. This is another underrated champion and a pretty pained defender on some nodes as well. Not the worst attacker either, can cause some pretty significant bleed damage, and the tenacity to shrug off buffs is pretty cool. I think you shouldn't be mad if you get an Agent Venom. I don't have a 5-star Agent Venom. This would be a new champion for me, and I'd be very happy to land on Agent Venom in the 5-star featured. Now we're going to go to Captain America. Kind of underappreciated, especially since Captain America Infinity War came out. The perfect block is the best part of this champion. I wish he hit harder. I wish, like Captain America World War II, he had some bleed damage to his special too. I do think Captain America OG needs and deserves quite a bit of a buff. But with that being said, not the worst champion, but certainly this is a miss. If you land on Captain America in this crystal, you have missed out on one of the better champions in the crystal. Now we're going to go to Spider-Man Classic. This is a champion that's the opposite of Nightcrawler, and that you really, really need him to be awakened to be a good defender. Great attacker, actually a better attacker when he's not awakened, because you don't have to worry about that annoying RNG evade that can throw off your parries. But at the same time, this is a miss at this point. You are not going to spend 15,000 5-star featured crystal shards on a OG Spider-Man, someone that you can easily get from the basic over the last several months and years. So I like Spider-Man Classic just fine, especially as a defender. Still has great value as a defender, but not who you're going for in this. Now let's go down to Fiona Shrek herself. She-Hulk deserves a buff so badly. I feel like Kabam just kind of ignores She-Hulk, and She-Hulk's another one of those champions that if you just kind of suddenly took her out of the game, I don't think too many people would notice right away, right? Like, that's how little her value is at this point in Marvel Contest of Champions. She's a terrible defender and has some value on offense, but certainly not even compared to her brethren in Red Hulk and OG Hulk or Gladiator Hulk. She is the least of the Hulks, and that's too bad because she should be pretty darn good. This would be a huge miss. You're going to see some people who might be tempted to throw down some profanity if they get a She-Hulk from a 5-star featured crystal. Maybe the worst pull of everything we've looked at so far. Now, speaking of horrible pulls, it wouldn't be a off pull without Rhino. Now, I do think Rhino kind of gets a bad shake of things because he's really fun to play when you get that unblockable RNG, when you are dashing forward, and also you don't have to worry about somebody canceling out your dash and giving you a reason to be on the defensive. So Rhino can be fun when you're just going back and then charging forward. I do think Rhino should do a little bit more damage, but again, a lot of people have 5-star Rhino. He's one of the more common champions to pull. Certainly would be a huge miss with all the great champions in this new crystal. Now we're going to go to Symbiote Supreme, a champion that I was so focused on getting Aegon when I got the 7,500 unit crystal that I was pretty ticked with my double rollover Aegon, so much so that I actually undervalued and undersold a bit the value of who I ended up pulling, and that's Symbiote Supreme. I have fought several Hyperions since taking him up to rank 3, and just instantly nullifies the power gain, and he's unawakened. I would love, of course, to awaken my Symbiote Supreme. This is a huge plus as to why I would go for this crystal, for the chance to awaken my Symbiote Supreme. Great champion, one of the best you can get here. A lot of people have told me that he is another reason why they are hoarding their 5-star shards for this new crystal. Mephisto. I don't have a 5-star Mephisto. I have wanted a 5-star Mephisto for a very long time, and I love Mephisto. Underrated champ on offense and on defense, and there are certain synergies now that make Mephisto even better. Gotta have him at some point. Certainly would not be a miss in this crystal. And Iron Fist certainly would be. This is a champion. You can stack the armor break. Some people have asked me if Iron Fist got like a silent buff. because they feel like he's doing more damage now. I can't confirm that, but maybe. Not a bad champion, and certainly like anyone else, Awaken helps, but at this point in the game, you're not going to celebrate an Iron Fist in a 15,000 5-star featured crystal. And, it's Magik, you know? There are a lot of people out there who still don't have their Magik awakened. Some have told me that Magik was the very first 5-star they pulled, and years later, they still don't have her awaken. What a fantastic opportunity to get that 4.2% RNG to awaken your Magik, if that is you. I love Magik. I think that she is just fine at rank 4, but if you take her up to rank 5, I don't see how you could argue with it. It is so cool that one of the first champions in the game still has so much value and utility, both on offense and on defense. Kabam hit a home run and then some, a grand slam, really, when they created Magik in the game, and she is still a fantastic champion who I love to fight and who I honestly hate to fight against. Venom the Duck. What can you say about this champ other than the fact that he's another really fun-to-play champ? Wasn't sure what to think of him. Was pretty disappointed that we didn't have Anti-Venom when he first came out. But Venom the Duck has proven to be a really fun champion for people who know how to play with him, especially carry over certain choice debuffs or buffs into the next fight. And if you land on a Venom the Duck, you're going to be very happy. I don't see anybody who's going to complain about that pull. Now, the champion, still, the verdict's out on him for offense. I don't know. Maybe he's amazing for offense, but most of the videos I've seen are him on defense. Certainly, if he's awakened, he can be a great defender. But if you're using a generic awakening gem and you have a choice between like the champion and say Aegon, you're obviously going to go Aegon first. But it's a new champion. It's a featured champion. It's one of the champions. Drax used to be amazing, but now with that silent frame rate BS nerf, he's still okay. Still causes a lot of bleed damage, but a miss in this crystal. And King Groot, hate to fight him on defense, hate to use him on offense. He's fine, but a miss as well. Darkhawk, the verdict's still out on this champion as far as offense and defense, but I never want to see him in the uncollected again. And I have a feeling Darkhawk's going to be a staple of Act 6 for some reason. Iron Man OG, huge miss, needs a buff, kind of a waste of time. Punisher 2099, another champion. I think if he disappeared tomorrow, Thanos style in the game, no one would notice, but certainly better than OG Iron Man, not by much. And Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. Holy God, can you imagine if I wasn't hunting for... if I was still hunting, for Stark-Spidey, I would be all over this featured crystal because this is the first time we have seen Stark Enhanced Spider-Man in a featured crystal. You combine him with Iceman and Magik and Gwenpool. If you don't have Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, take it from somebody who has used him every single time I can since getting him recently. You got to go for this featured crystal. In fact, I think the focus of the title on this video, the focus of the center is Starky is finally in a featured crystal. That's the exciting takeaway for me, along with everything else. Yes, there's going to be some misses. There's going to be people who get a couple of She-Hulks and quit the game, a couple of Rhinos, a couple of old man Logans. But Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, it's about freaking time that he's in a featured crystal. If you don't have him, go for him. And let me know your thoughts on this. Are you going to go for this crystal? Personally, I would have loved to awaken my Corvus or my Killmonger or my Ghost Rider from this batch, so I'm a little disappointed just because I have the best of the champions in here, but if you don't, man, you should be on Cloud 9 right now. So let me know your thoughts below, and thanks as always for watching and supporting my Marvel Contest of Champions YouTube channel.